Patryk is a lead software engineer at SpaceX. And before that, he was at CERN. He did his VIA fellowship. And between CERN and SpaceX, he also went to do masters in EPFL. And I want to add one personal note that Patryk was my teacher when I was first year at CERN. He taught me how to use LabVIEW and how to program LabVIEW. Thank you, Patryk. I am really thankful even today. So go ahead. The floor is yours.
I'm glad you still remember. Cool. So my name is Patryk. Hello, everyone. I am Polish. I finished Warsaw University of Technology and also EPFL for masters. And in both universities, I studied kind of mix of EE and CS. And as Gunn said, I used to work at CERN. And now I'm at SpaceX. I'm talking to you from the other side of the world in Los Angeles. Quick note, opinions in this presentation are my own. I don't represent any current or past employers. So at CERN, I worked on the reliability of the LHC and all the other accelerators. I worked on test hardware and software for converter control boards, and I contributed a lot, did a lot of testing, a lot of software, and also learned a lot. I published 2 research papers, mentored multiple students, conducted the LabVIEW courses Gan was talking about. That was a lot of fun, and I really fell in love with CERN, its multinational culture, but also with its coffee breaks. I still miss the renversés of Swiss French and general the Swiss Romand way of life. I believe it's a perfect mix between, well, the Swiss German a bit more strict way of life and maybe the French let's have a coffee sometime way of life. And I talk about it a lot while I'm here. But ultimately, after my VIA fellowship, I chose to learn more. I basically did not necessarily wanted to stay in test hardware and software, and wanted to go more into software and learn more. So I decided to go for masters. And well, when you work in a job as an engineer for 2 years, generally coming back well, from CERN is kind of already academia, but like to being a student is, I would say, hard. It was really struggling. I was really struggling to prepare for my master's application. And then there is a lot of like testing I had to do. And then during my master's at EPFL, which was not that far away in Lausanne, I had a lot of struggles adjusting to, well, having a bit of a non-structured student life, not necessarily always having weekends and having like, yeah, I don't know, just being back a student, felt like kind of a step back, but ultimately, I think it was an investment in myself, and I think it was worth the risk. So after that, and why I think it was worth it, actually during my time at EPFL, I got an internship here in Los Angeles, and this is how I got here, at a Hyperloop company called Hyperloop One / Virgin Hyperloop. I think it doesn't exist anymore. And I believe I got this internship for multiple reasons. One, the grass is always greener, especially if your neighbor is from across the ocean. So if you think about what CERN means here in the US and what NASA means here in the US, and the opposite, what it means in Europe, the farther you are from CERN / from NASA, the more kind of wow it is, just because that's kind of how it is by the law of diffusion. There is just more CERN people in Geneva, and when I came here to Los Angeles, they were all very, very impressed with my CERN experience. Even though around me there were like a lot of NASA people that were like, "Yeah, I work at NASA, whatever," or worked. So you all should know that. I also had a lot of struggles with the culture. I remember my first time at the job, nobody really said bonjour or hello to me. It's a very strong individualistic culture here. It's not like people don't say hello, but it's a bit of a different vibe. And I'm still sometimes struggling with it. There's no reverse. There's no R3, which I used to love a lot. But there is way higher risk tolerance. The startup like this, like the Hyperloop startup I worked in, basically did like would probably, well, now there are some Hyperloop startups in Europe, but it's generally the risk tolerance I found here is quite higher. And during that startup experience, I got an opportunity to jump into SpaceX and work on optimizing their existing systems and developing their existing systems, which is, I think, again a step in a good direction from a startup. And at SpaceX, I cannot really talk a lot about my job, but I want to mention 3 things that I learned here at SpaceX. I think I really learned how to be a good owner and how to get shit done in a very, very end-to-end way. The best way to describe it is I'm trying to be the person that figures the assigned problem out, regardless of the team boundaries or anything that's like stopping me. I own this end-to-end, and I keep trying restlessly until this is figured out, and just inform my management chain if I'm blocked. And also I learned that the healthy level of paranoia is really important to success, especially in aerospace, I think. As long as it doesn't affect your mental health, and it's all I would call a healthy paranoia. Another 2 things I learned are related to pain and suffering and failures, which sounds very miserable. But again, as long as you treat it as a challenge, and it doesn't affect your mental health, I think pain, suffering, and failure can help us engineers build character and resilience, and this is what's needed to success. And in general, it's very important to fail, because that allows us to learn the fastest. And as long as we improve and iterate and adjust to feedback, I think failure is great. Well, almost as great as success. So this is my like kind of full chart, and I want to leave you with some maybe summary and additional observations. Apart from like the tough situations and personal growth, I observed that every culture, every org, every company is different in terms of culture, but also many other things. The risk posture is different. The amount of pressure. I don't know. Like I observed, like how old people are affects like the general vibe and humor, right? And that's just pragmatic. Just younger people have a bit of a different vibe than older people, and I think that's okay. On the other hand, CERN, I think it has a unique mission, but it's like many other companies maintaining custom hardware and software and creating it, and it has to follow some rules, and it owns a big machine that's not easily controllable or understandable by one human. And so all of this is what other industry like organizations struggle with. So I don't necessarily think that CERN, in terms of engineering, has like such different problems than the industry.